Hi, Giulio here. Having a Spaghettio. Today's topic is narcissism. Narcissism is a mental health disorder or personality disorder that you may be aware of in your interactions with people in your workplace or in your life generally. The reason we're looking at narcissism in the context of early childhood learning is that one of the things, or a characteristic of the narcissist, is that they have an over-reliance or a need for the approval of others. In fact, they demand that other people esteem them in such a way that it reinforces the narcissist's sense of their own importance. So that's why we're looking at narcissism. And when we teach young children the I'm worthwhile crocodile habit of thinking, that is helping children develop an appreciation of themselves. In other words, they approve of themselves, and they are less likely to need the approval of others. So I'm working from the assumption that narcissists don't have the capacity to unconditionally accept themselves. They need other people to unconditionally esteem them. So what is narcissist personality disorder? Well, it's a mental health condition, and I'm not an expert, so I wouldn't be able to diagnose such a condition, but I'm certainly aware of some of the behaviours that I've observed over the years working with people in education. Narcissists have an inflated sense of their own importance, and they expect other people to treat them accordingly because they're special. They have a deep need for excessive attention and admiration. They tend to cultivate friendships, social networks, people who are dedicated to esteeming their friend or their colleague for whatever reason, and giving them what's called narcissist supply. They're supplying the narcissist with the feedback that they want and they believe they deserve. It's their birthright. They have lack of empathy for others. It seems to me, in my experience, there are people who tend to hurt and plan to hurt other people without compunction, and I can only suggest that that's because they demean other people. In their mind, they believe, they decide that they're not worthy of respect, so therefore they are deserving of malice and harm. They have fragile self-esteem behind their outward arrogance. So one would suggest that perhaps the narcissist we know in a public setting, in a private way, will be not in a happy place. They struggle with relationships and they struggle with criticism. They don't like to be criticized. You can't constructively advise. You can't, if you have an opinion, a counter opinion, or an opinion that is not in agreement with the narcissist, that is enough for you to become persona non grata. They have a sense of entitlement. They believe they're important, they believe they're special, and they want people around them to acknowledge their specialness. And of course, they take advantage of others. Other people are just pawns in their game of chess, and they are the king or the queen of the chessboard. So that's a description of the disorder, and you may recognize these behaviors in people around you in your orbit. That's just to continue on the profile of a narcissist, as my reading has informs me. They create toxic working environments, or environments wherever they are. They lack of empathy. They manipulate people, and so they exploit people emotionally. One of the things I recall of a person I have worked with is that they can bully, but they can also play the victim role. So when they want people to empathise with them or feel sorry for them, they can act as if they are the victim, but in other situations they can be the bully. So they can play two roles depending on what it is they want to achieve from their audience. Their self-worth is always under attack because they have a reliance on other people to supply them with the feed them with this information, this adoration, this esteem, loyalty, respect, because they believe that that's their right. But they're also susceptible to anxiety and depression. You would imagine that if this is what you want, if you demand from other people that they should put you up on some kind of pedestal because of your specialness, and you don't get it, well then it may start to shake the foundations of your sense of who you are. They're grandiose, arrogant, they're entitled. The literature says that they can reach a point of emotional exhaustion and a feeling of constantly walking on eggshells for those around them. So in cultivating and nurturing the narcissistic feeders, suppliers, in my experience, they might, for instance, buy gifts for their adoring acolyte, others, and they might put them somewhere in view of everybody else, so that people who don't receive such accolades or such gifts, they can see that there are people who are worthy of the attention of the narcissist, but there are those who are not. And generally the people who are not are the people who do not play the game of providing this false adoration of the narcissist. So very interesting. So Miss Prudence Puttynose is a character that I created. It's kind of a composite of people I've met over the years, and the Miss Puttynoses of the world. They need constant attention, they need admiration, they need validation of other people to maintain their fragile sense of self-worth. So when we talk about toxic working environment or environment wherever it may be that contains the narcissist, you have to be very aware of what's happening in terms of the manipulation that's going on. And unfortunately, a lot of people who are in the under the influence of the narcissist, don't realize until it's too late that they've been played, as they say. Miss Prudence Puttynose is someone who uses preferred others to indicate or to give the impression that they are important. They constantly are fed information that reminds them or tells them that they're really special, they're really good. And Miss Prudence Puttynose, when she was running out of narcissist supply, and it seemed like not enough people were showing her or giving her the attention she deserved and needed, decided to phone an ambulance. And the optics of that was pretty sensational. You have an ambulance come to your workplace to tend to the needs of someone who appears to be not well. And of course, this is communicating to the community that this person is particularly dedicated, and because of their dedication and because they are working above and beyond, and they're special people, that only they can feel the effects of exhaustion platform because they care so much about other people, and that's the message. But in reality, the person that they care most about is themselves. And so the ambulance might work for a while, but until their sense of self-worth is challenged again, and they need another kick, another boost to their ego. So misprudence, putty nose. Maybe you have worked with someone like this or know someone like this. Beware, don't fall into the trap. So narcissistic personality or narcissistic personality disorder and bullying, in my estimation, goes hand in hand, because you want people on side, and you tend to those people, you encourage their friendship, and for those who don't play the game, then they become targets. And I have observed people who have been victims of bullying and the narcissist perpetrator being targeted to the point of deep emotional psychological harm for the victim. Strategies like standing outside the classroom of the teacher, not saying anything, and maybe doing that once, twice, a few times a week, getting their offsiders to do the same thing. Maybe also using the CCTV cameras to monitor the movements of the targeted other. It's quite malicious, and it's quite targeted, it's quite intended, and I've seen it happen. Another strategy that the narcissist putty noses of will have I've known, or someone has told me, that they have checked out social media, they found that information, and they've used information against a targeted victim. And of course, there's always the spreading rumours, making up stories, a narrative that, so and so is not a team player. They don't deserve respect. People are encouraged not to converse with them or associate with them, because if you do that, that's indicating that you are not as on side with the narcissist as you could be. So narcissism and bullying, for me, it's kind of very close in terms of go hand in hand. And again, they can switch between playing bully and victim, a manipulative tactic used to avoid accountability and to gain sympathy. So they're master manipulators. And for those of us who won't play the game or don't play the game, you become persona non grata, and you may become a victim of their malice. So we come back to the Have a Go Spaghettio Success Helper approach chart to social and emotional well-being, 6 competencies, 6 ways of acting, behaving, feeling, thinking, developing a philosophy, habits of thinking, habits of the mind, or habits of mind, that help us make better choices, help us to manage our emotions more effectively. And the one in particular that I always come back to, seems that way, is the I'm worthwhile crocodile habit of thinking. Now, in terms of rational emotive behavior therapy, that is, it's called unconditional self-acceptance. It means that I accept myself even if you don't. I accept myself if I fail at something, or I'm successful at something. If I succeed at something, does that make me a success? No, it doesn't. If I fail at something, does it make me a failure? No, it doesn't. If someone doesn't esteem me as I believe that I would like them to, does that diminish my worth? No, it doesn't. So the idea behind the unworthwhile crocodile approach to social and emotional learning is to help children develop the capacity to accept themselves unconditionally, so that they're not, or they don't tend or become narcissists seeking approval or seeking affirmation beyond them, outside of themselves. So that's the reason why we started off, or that's the reason why we have this presentation, because narcissism starts somewhere. Is it learned? The literature says yes, it is. It can be learned, but it also relates to someone's genetic makeup. You may be predisposed to narcissist tendencies, behaviours, ways of thinking. But if you're brought up in an environment where people have told you that you're special, that you're better than other people, that other people should be able to, should see this, and they should revere your specialness, and you grow up with this belief, well, then we have misprudence, putty-nosed types who expect other people to, to worship the ground they stand on, and to supply that, feed the narcissist with what it is they want to hear, so that they can become, or they can reinforce the idea that they are special. But because they don't unconditionally accept themselves, when this supply is not forthcoming, they are at risk. So when I talk about narcissism, I talk about it as a mental health condition, something that is not a very pleasant condition. Unfortunately, it affects the people around the narcissist. Whether or not the narcissist can be helped, I've heard that it's a hard task. It's a hard ask for the narcissist to accept that they have a problem, a mental health problem, and it's hard to get past that unless you have people around you who can help you gain insight into what's happening. Unfortunately, the narcissist has people around them that feeds their ego, and they tend not to want people around them who might have a constructive opinion. That's not acceptable. So when we teach our young children unworthwhile crocodile thinking, we're teaching them unconditional self-acceptance. I believe that's a psychological protective factor against narcissism, and maybe that's something that if we introduce to children early on, it will have benefits for them as they continue on their journeys. Rational emotive behavior therapy talks about three main musts. There's I must do well and be approved by others. It's very inflexible. It's dogmatic thinking. It's a belief that when I set out to achieve something, I must achieve it. I must be approved by others. Others must treat me fairly and kindly. They must. It's not a preference. It's not. They must. So a narcissist will think, if you don't give me what I believe I must have, then you are at fault. It's your fault, and you are persona non grata. Life must be easy and hassle-free. People who don't deliver to me what it is I want to hear, I want to know, that's a hassle to me, and rather than change the way I think about things and think about myself, I just want to get rid of the perpetrators, the people who are not giving me what I want. So basically, REBT, Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy, success stopper thinking, brain bully thinking, is I must get what I want, you must give me what I want, and life must give me what I want. This is the ABC theory of emotional disturbance. As a rational emotive behavior counsellor, I use this paradigm when I'm talking to children or helping them, and basically the ABC model underpins the 6 success helper choices we talk about in the Have a Go Spaghettio chart. We want children to understand that when something happens at A, how they feel and how they act at C is linked to what I'm thinking at B. So we want children to develop success helper, brain friend ways of thinking at B, or rational ways of thinking, so that when something happens, a challenge or something that we prefer not to happen, but it does, we look at it in a rational way. We use brain friend, success helper thinking, and that helps us manage, regulate our emotions. That's what we want to teach our children. If we can teach children these habits of thinking from an early age, they become automatic. And when they get older, they'll be able to think about, well, how do I feel? What choices did I make? What was I thinking at the time? Was it a helpful way of thinking? Was it success helper thinking or success stopper thinking? What can I do better next time? So we help them to learn to think about their thinking. That comes later in schooling. If they can develop a success helper way of thinking, approach to life, then they generally cope better. Friendships at school, work, etc. So that's the ABC theory of emotional disturbance. We help children in the counselling situation at D to challenge what brain bully might be saying. If brain bully is saying, you know, everybody must like me, it's not fair that they don't, and that we would dispute that. The evidence suggests that not everyone will like you for whatever reason. So it's no use demanding that they should. It's an unreasonable expectation. So how can we change our success stopper thinking or brain bully thinking to brain friend thinking? What's a brain friend belief we can work on? I get little children to set themselves some brain friend thinking or success helper goals. If we successfully help children challenge irrational or brain bully thinking at B, they develop a philosophy that's predominantly one of rationality, brain friend thinking, success helper thinking. We would like, in an ideal world, for our narcissist, Miss Prudence Patinos and others, to seek help and to find someone who can help them understand that at B of the paradigm, they have constructed what Albert Ellis would call an irrational way of thinking, or brain bully. It's a brain bully way of thinking if you think that you're better than everybody else, that everyone should treat you as if you are special or more special than anybody else. It's much better to prefer that they do, but not to demand that they should. So if our narcissist sufferers, because it is a mental health condition, if they were to see a cognitive behavior therapist or a rational emotive behavior therapist, they would be helped. They can be helped. The question is whether or not they want to do it. One of my articles I wrote is called Breaking Approval Dependence, and approval dependence at B is people I like must like me. It's unfair that they don't. There's something wrong with me. Why don't these people like me? They must like me. Breaking approval dependence is developing unconditional self-acceptance. Your approval of yourself is what counts. So these are links to some articles that I've written that relate to the subject of this presentation, narcissism and bullying, how they go hand in hand. Hopefully you find them interesting but useful, and beware. If you are in an environment where there's a narcissist in a position of power and authority, I think the best option is, one, understand what's going on, and if you're not going to play the game of the narcissist feeder to the narcissist, you don't want to play that game. Quite often, the best option is to remove yourself. If that means, as a teacher, looking for another appointment, so be it. So I'll leave that with you to look at your own leisure, at your own leisure. So lastly, leave you with this quotation from Albert Ellis. I've used it before, but it's important, I believe. The future of psychotherapy is in the school system. Have a Go Spaghettio is about taking rational emotive behavior therapy principles or cognitive behavior therapy principles and daily teaching practice, putting them in the classroom, helping children understand there's a link between thinking, feeling and behaving, helping them to develop a success helper, brain frame way of thinking, and helping them develop the skills they can use to think about their thinking when they reach formal operations later on in primary school and early secondary school. They can think about their thinking when they reach the stage of metacognition. So that's the whole idea behind Have a Go Spaghettio. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and if you did, give us a thumbs up. Any feedback is worthwhile, and if you do implement this in your classroom, I'd be interested to know how you go. All the best. Till next time, Have a Go Spaghettio. Give it a try, banana pie. Bye.